Shauna after death. August 30th, 1998. Dear Diary, I met the remarkable Shauna Jean Malone today. And she is remarkable. And I can prove it, dear diary. Of course she's remarkable. I'm remarking upon her right now, am I not? Anyhow, today is her birthday. We were introduced at the Wren dormitory corner of the uphill quad. The residential assistants had assembled all of us freshman junior Wren members, and they announced that it was her birthday. She jumped into the middle of the circle, jumped up and down, introduced herself, smiled beautifully, and then unselfconsciously she skipped around the circle as we self-consciously sang happy birthday. She doesn't know who I am yet, but she will, dear diary. I'd like to find out if she was dusted in some kind of magic sparkle twinkle dust, and it's possible. I think I love her. Brian.
I'm Rabbi Brian Zachary Mayer. I help the spiritual but not religious.
There's a chance that this spiritual thing might not be what you think it is.
You get to choose who you are in this world, and that's enough, and that's awesome.
The less you believe everything you think, the better.
I'm ready, you're ready, let's dive in. Death arrives. Andreas calls me on my cell at 8:07 in the morning, January 30th, 2013. He asks, Brian, are you sitting? I'm not, but I tell him I am. I'm hovering around my classroom desk. I'm getting ready. There are 5 students already in my classroom, and the bell will ring at 8:20. Shauna died this morning. I sit down and I mutter a string of denial. What? I mean, I heard you. What? I'm sorry, I don't mean to say that. What? No, she didn't. She couldn't have. I stand, I sit, I stand again, and I sit again, and I stand, all before he finishes his next short sentence. It was pneumonia. She died. It was sudden. We'll talk to you later. Oh my God, okay, I gotta go teach. I mean, how are you? I mean, what? I mean, okay, I'll call you later. Goodbye. I tell my students at the start of class I might act differently as I'm absorbing some pretty horrible news. But I don't. I don't act differently at all. The shock is just too great. It's not until I sit with Jane on the purple Epcot sofa on the first floor rental next to the KFC, after tucking the kids into their common bunk bed, that I uncocoon my heart enough, let out a tear, and I finally weep. Besties. We were besties, Shauna and I, and neither Jane or Andreas, Shauna's future husband, were anything but encouraging of our love. We held hands as we walked, we gabbed on the phone for hours, just keeping each other company. In English and practicando el español that we both became semi-fluent at Tufts University. We laughed a lot. People would use substances to loosen themselves up so they could be as free as Shauna and I were when we were together. My dad said you could put Shauna on a pile of garbage and she'd still be having a good time. I think he was right. After her death, her family asked me to give a eulogy, which I did. I mentioned how she was always trying to squeeze in one more activity, which made her constantly late. I mentioned how she loved to smell things, random things, like a pair of gloves I had just put down on a counter. I mentioned her enduring faith, her conviction that people were always trying their best, that nobody meant to cause harm, and that things work out as they're supposed to. Us Jews are never quite as good as faith as you were, my dear Shauna, I said at the altar of St. Mark's Lutheran Church where I had stood to offer a marriage blessing only 5 years earlier. I asked, rhetorically, darkly, really, Shauna? Things work out as they're supposed to? I twice repeated, I don't think so. I don't think so, before joining Jane in the second row where she held me as I sobbed unconstrained. God's will. A few weeks after Christmas break, we celebrated New Year's Eve with her friends. We were in the dining hall. She was awkward, distracted, all over the map. Schwinky, what's going on? Nothing, Briano. Everything's fine. No, it's not. No, it's not. You're right. I know, I said it first. I know you said it first. How do you know these things, Brianno? Magic powers? Spill it. I don't want to. Everything's fine. Save us from having to make this take any longer. Just spill it. Well, that's actually what it's about. It's about saving you. She explained that the leaders of her Wednesday night campus Bible study group told her that she had two choices. Bring me to Jesus or abandon me as a hell-bound, unrepentant Jew. We're at college to learn from the experts, and the experts made it clear, only it didn't make sense. Why would God not allow me in the afterlife with her? Because my lips hadn't said a certain formula of words? Did God care for loyalty oaths over purity of heart? Is there a divine plan for us not to be friends? Shauna decided to let God be God, and we would remain friends, as she would allow God to adjudicate when the time would come. She chose our friendship. She chose me. Theology Upgrade. People level up spiritually in the aftermath of a crisis for which their current worldview proves insufficient. When we can't make sense of the world with the God beliefs we have, we come to a crisis of faith, and two options. One, pretend we are fine with everything, even though we know it doesn't make sense. Or two, eke out our new beliefs. Shauna's death led me to the latter. How could she have died? How could pneumonia so quickly catalyze her into death? Where was God? How do you make sense of such terrible things when they happen? Mary Hines, the beloved Canadian radio personality, asked me on air a month after the funeral. Words came from my mouth about God being limited. I think God gets upset about this stuff too. I can only imagine God's equally upset that Shauna's life was so short, that God too was surprised. Like, dang, how'd that happen? Mary, a veteran journalist, left me to sit in the silence that followed my vision of God as somewhat asleep at the wheel. I added what was beginning to make sense. Perhaps God messes up and needs my grace and forgiveness too. Shauna after death. My dearest Shauna, how has it been 7 years? How, mi amor, how is it possible? I miss you, and I still strive to live as joyously as you did. I wish I could figure out how to love God as much as you did, Schwinky. I might just be a Jew filled with wishful thinking, and it's possible, probable even. Nevertheless, I look forward to seeing your bright smile and holding your hand in heaven. I love you, Brianno.